The Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey was developed by Unicef at their New York headquarters in 1990. The survey came as a response to help governments around the world to determine what progress is made in commitments made at an international level for the advancement of children's rights. Christine Norton is the UNICEF representative for Belize.
So the survey is a series of indicators that that ask questions about health, about education, about child protection, and environment in which children live and grow. We want to get a sense of, how the investments that are being made across the life cycle of a child pay off. What's the value for the money that we have put in, and how much are we doing to truly advance and ensure that children are progressing well. This is the whole goal of the survey. Of course, data coming from a survey like this is not only useful in demonstrating progress made, but it's useful in terms of helping governments to make decisions for continued work. We always make advancements when we have invested a certain effort, but certainly there's also work that needs to be done. Occasionally, of course, the data, if analyzed well, can throw up new things, unexpected facts that we didn't think about when we entered the process. And so the usefulness of the data for research institutions and for an institution such as UB, or for research experts, in specific areas, for sectoral experts, it's just helpful to have this data on hand that will allow people to be guided so that the policy decisions and interventions are well placed and the money at the end is well spent for the purpose that we had intended.
The survey, which cost $634,720 to carry out, was conducted in 7 regions with special emphasis on Belize City Southside and the Toledo district. The findings were represented by the Deputy Director General at the Statistical Institute of Belize, Dr. Leopold Perriot.
The under 5 mortality rate has gone down from 27 to 17 deaths per 1,000 live births. That's from 2006 to 2011, and that's a good sign. And also, the infant mortality rate has also decreased from 22 to 14 per 1,000 live births. That's from 2006 again to 2011, and that's also a good sign. So something is happening, and it's in the right direction. With respect to breastfeeding, we have breastfeeding for different age groups. Exclusively breastfed, as was mentioned by Christine, there's an increase. In other words, more people are doing breastfeeding exclusively, from about 10%, 10.2% to 14.7%. 10.2% in 2006 and 14.7% in 2011. And you noticed overall there is improvement between 2006 and 2011. In 2006, the 6 to 8 months breastfeeding of infants are introduced to solid and semi-solid or soft foods. Mix 3 was 44%, and mix 4 is 68.5%. So there's an increase. There seems to be some kind of an improvement going on here for all these categories. Water and sanitation remains fairly high. Consistently so. 97.7% of household members have access to improved water sources. And as far as sanitation goes, 89.2% of household members have access to improved sanitary facilities. Urban areas, of course, perform a little better than rural areas, according to these statistics. Urban areas in mix 4 for improved water sources, 99.5, in rural areas, 96.2, so there's a difference. Similarly, for sanitation facilities, urban areas, 92.2%, and rural areas, 86.9%, so there's a little bit of difference. Urban does a little bit better than the rural areas. Birth registration, and this one I think is dear to UNICEF. Stein Creek, let's look at Stein Creek and be done with it. Stein Creek, mix 4 is 97.7%. In mix 3, it was 87.6%. Quite an improvement. The other districts, they're basically stable. Orange Walk, Mixed 3, 95.1, Mixed 4, 95.2. So the numbers are fairly stable, and they're basically equivalent. Yes, please.
Studies show that immunization had a mixture of increase and decrease in improvement as compared to 2006. When it comes to illnesses, pneumonia and diarrhea, 7.9% of children under 5 had had diarrhea 2 weeks before the survey and 3% had suffered pneumonia. Period also presented findings in the area of women's reproductive health.
The 55.2% of women use contraceptives. That's mixed 4. Mixed 3 was 34.3. And so people are catching on. They're using contraceptives more frequently. There's a decrease in unmet need. In other words, the needs for contraception is being met. In 2011, it's 15.9. In 2006, it was 31.2%. A birth before age 18, I think this is something that's dear to Dr. Fraser, 16.9%. Among married women, contraceptive use in the country was 44.8%. That's mixed 4. In mixed 3, it was 34.3%. So there's an increase in the use of contraceptives in married women. Most people evidently have heard of HIV/AIDS. Maybe it should be 99%, but evidently it's only 95% for women 15 to 49, and a little less, 94%, which probably isn't a significant difference for women 15 to 24. There's a low level of knowledge in the rural areas, at 34.0%. Mestizos, the Mayans, the Mestizos at 39.1%, and the Mayans at 23.5%, and the poor and less educated people.
The survey also showed that women and girls ages 15 to 24 had had sex at least once. 41.6% of those sexual contacts were with non-regular partners. Only 64.6% of women who have sex with non-regular partners use condoms, and only 40.8% have been tested for HIV in at least 12 months and have their results. Next is education. And Perriott showed the percentage findings of children from 36 to 59 months whose development is on track.
Our social, emotional, 78.5. The others for physical and for learning are fairly high, and they're reasonable. Please. It's always a controversial topic, literacy rates. The literacy rate in this case was measured by looking at the question which asked the educational attainment, whether the person had attained standard 5 or better. So it's the usual one that's endorsed. Or if the person did not do any of that, there was a simple sentence that the person was asked to read in whatever language, or English or Spanish, and if that was possible, then, So it's a very rough index. It's a very, very rough measure. But nevertheless, it gives an idea of trends. And you notice that there is an upward trend, very barely so. Mixed 3 literacy rate for women between 15 and 24 was 89.4. In 2011, it's 91.1%. The Maya seem to have an issue. I put just the major ones that have issues. The Maya seem to have an issue from 85.0 in mixed 3 to 88.7 in mixed 4, so there's an increase. Urban literacy rates went up a little bit, from 90.7 in mixed 3 to 96.5 in mixed 4. And rural literacy rates seem to have remained stable, or if you're a bit picky, if you're very picky, you might say it went down very slightly. It's interesting to notice in the districts, which districts have the lower literacy rate. Orange Walk, 2011 at 82.0. Corozal, in 2011, 86.0. Toledo, 89.6.
Further findings show that at age 13, the school attendance of male falls significantly. Child labor for children ages 5 to 14 is at 4.1% in urban communities and 13.8% in rural. The survey also shows that on a national level, 70.5% of children are raised with violent discipline. Finally, here are some statistics on domestic violence.
In all Belize, 8.6% of the women believe that domestic violence was appropriate in certain instances. In mixed 3, it was 12.2%, so it has decreased. People are they're finding out about these things, no? You're not supposed to be beating up on women. And I put down a couple bubbles there. We have a couple bubbles that have a few statistics. The Mayans, for example, 18.1% in 2011 believe that domestic violence is acceptable, while in 2006 was 34.7%, so it's a dramatic decrease. In Toledo District, of course, it goes from 2006, the mixed 3, at 34.2% down to 15% in 2011.
Norton explained that now that these statistics exist, it will still take the effort of everyone to make sure our children have a better life.
I think it is an effort for everyone to ensure that children have access to the information that they need, and we shouldn't be afraid to share that information because we don't want to send children out in the dark when risks are all around. We want to ensure that they are well informed and they can make the right decisions, and so that's the effort that we will try to make in going forward.
Reporting for Love News, I am Natalie Novello.